Good morning. The time is now 5 o'clock. Our top stories at this hour. Salvage crews will try to raise the sunken tugboat off of Treasure Island today. It sank, causing an oil spill. You see it there. Cleanup crews still at work this morning. We'll have the latest in a live report coming up. And $10,000 in a reward now being offered for information leading to the whereabouts of 5-year-old Hassani Campbell. The young boy has been missing now since last Monday. We'll have full details straight ahead. And the Santa Cruz Mountains wildfire is now 80% contained. We'll have the latest on evacuations and the climbing costs now to fight these wildfires burning across the entire state. Those stories straight ahead. We're also following weather and traffic. In fact, we want to get our first look at it now with Evelyn Taft. And Evelyn, as we look at the Golden Gate Bridge, Drew, as we look at the Golden Gate Bridge, we know there's a little fog out there.
Yes, indeed, James. We are looking at a little bit of fog outside right now, and also taking a look at the Golden Gate Bridge. You can see these foggy conditions out there. Got a little bit of fog through San Francisco, also a little bit of light misting through San Francisco. That fog's already worked its way in through the East Bay. And taking a quick look at some weather headlines. We have some morning clouds and fog today. Mild conditions around most of the bay. However, temperatures further inland still going to be very warm. We'll have a full weather check coming up in just a couple of minutes. In the meantime, let's get a quick check of traffic with George.
Thanks, Drew. As we take a look at the Bay Bridge Toll Plaza, the westbound ride heading towards San Francisco, light this morning with no backup or delay. We'll have a complete traffic check coming right up. James.
All right, George, thank you very much. And again, our developing story at this hour. Cleanup crews still at work this morning, sopping up the oil and diesel left in the wake of a tugboat that sank off the Treasure Island shoreline. Here you can see those crews out there, and you see the absorbent boom that's being used this morning. This video captured just moments after that tugboat was reported sunk. Yesterday, that decommissioned tugboat, the USS Winona is its name, it sank where it was moored there on the eastern side of Treasure Island, leaving an oil sheen stretching several hundred yards. Pollution investigators responded with, as we said, absorbent boom there and other cleanup materials. They're hard at work. We spoke actually with members of the Coast Guard, and here's what they plan to do today.
We'll look at raising the tug and mooring it pierside in order to access the remaining fuel on board.
And they actually have a lid that goes up over the fuel vent, and we put a gasket in there and close the lid and stop the leaking.
Now, that tugboat also left a 400-foot debris field when it sank. Crews are working to clean that up this morning as well. We also wanted to bring up Google Earth this morning just to give you a lay of the land here. Again, here's a shot overlooking the Bay Area, Treasure Island right here. In fact, let's bring this full screen if we could. I'll draw on this and give you a better idea of where this oil spill is located. But basically, this is Treasure Island, and this is the Berkeley Marina located just to the north and east. It sank just off the eastern side, and that's where they have the absorbent boom there, just on the eastern shore of Treasure Island. However, there is a thin sheen of oil that stretches from Treasure Island all the way to the Berkeley Marina and back, and it's going to take them quite a while to get that portion of it cleaned up. But at this point, that's the situation out there this morning, thanks to Google Earth for providing us this overhead picture. Now, more onto that tugboat, the USS Winona. It is a Woburn-class district harbor tug, so it's a tug used by the U.S. Navy. In fact, it was built back in 1940 and saw 33 years of service before it was ultimately decommissioned in 1974. It was recently purchased in 2002 and was in the process of being restored when it sank. There is, I should say, also an identical tug located at Treasure Island as well, and activists right now are looking to get both those tugs removed before we have another incident like this. We should put this in perspective, though, this oil leak and gasoline leak. It was only 35 gallons or so, but think of back when we had the biggest oil spill here in Bay Area history. You'll remember it. It was that spill from the Costco Busan back in 2007. In that instance, more than 58,000 gallons of heavy bunker fuel spilled into the bay after that ship ran into the Bay Bridge. Beaches were closed, obviously, and marine life was severely impacted for quite some time. But this spill here on Treasure Island isn't expected to cause much of an environmental problem, but we'll be following this story. In fact, we'll have live reports coming up momentarily here in our 5 o'clock hour. In the meantime, another developing story we're following this morning, 5-year-old Hassani Campbell has been missing for 8 days now. The FBI and Oakland police say they're getting fewer leads than they had anticipated. Over the weekend, they searched a salt marsh and an auto wrecking yard. You see video of it here. It's located in Hayward, but they wouldn't say what led them there. Right now, the reward for information about the boy's disappearance has reached $10,000. Meanwhile, last night, supporters gathered in the Rockridge district in Oakland where Hassani disappeared. Family and friends gathered to mark 1 week since the little boy disappeared. They put out candles and balloons with Hassani's favorite colors and cartoon characters on them. Here's what Hassani's foster parents had to say.
So what we're asking is that if you want to help keep our son in the news, don't let him become a picture on the milk carton box 5 years later that you never found. You want to help? That's what you do. All of you, that's what you do.
All we want is our children home. We want Hassani found and Aaliyah back with us. That's all any parent ever wants. I would gladly trade my life now for his. If something's wrong with him, I don't care.
Now, the Rockbridge community still obviously in a state of confusion and shock over the boy's disappearance. And Hassani's family, as you heard, says they just want him home. If you have any information, call Oakland Police. Meanwhile, Mark Klass, an advocate for missing children, whose daughter, in fact, Polly, was kidnapped and killed back in 1993, says he's troubled that the story of what led up to Hassani's disappearance seems to be changing. Klass talked to KRON 4 yesterday, and he thinks the Oakland Police Department is doing all it can given the circumstances.
That then is the problem, that the story shifts and becomes something different than it was the first time it was told, which indicates to me that the truth or all of the truth is not coming out. The vast majority of children are taken by somebody within the family. You can look at the fact that if they're going to be murdered, they're going to be murdered very soon. But none of them looks good after a week. None of the ways of looking at this are good at this point.
And we'll have more of Mark Klass's interview coming up in our 5:30 portion of this morning's news. All right, at 5:07, though, let's get over to the Weather Center right now. Drew Harmon keeping an eye on your Tuesday forecast. Good morning, Drew.
Good morning, James. Taking a look at a mild start for the forecast for much of the Bay Area. We're going to see some minor cooling for much of the Bay Area today, except further into Monday for next week as well. It's 5:10 on the KRON 4 Morning News. Let's get a check on traffic with George Rask.
Thank you, Drew. Good morning. As we take a look first at the ride on Interstate 580, could see a little bounce back today, perhaps a little heavier traffic today than we saw yesterday, certainly here as well. And again, at the Bay Bridge Toll Plaza, no backup, no delay for the westbound ride. James.
All right, George, thank you very much. 5:10 is the time. A quick update now on the wildfire still burning in the Santa Cruz Mountains. Good news, it is now 80% contained. It has burned, though, over 7,000 acres. This is video of, in fact, of residents returning home to the Bonnie Doon area yesterday where their evacuation orders were lifted. 5 people have been injured, but none of the injuries were believed to be life-threatening. 50 structures in all are still threatened at this hour. 2 structures, we understand, have been damaged. Since this fire started last Wednesday, CAL FIRE is hoping they can have the fire fully contained by August 30th. We'll keep you updated. In the meantime, another wildfire burning in Yuba County. Take a look here. A helicopter making a water drop now. Authorities are lifting some of the evacuation orders near this fire. Firefighters apparently making some pretty good progress. Right now, this fire has burned over 3,500 acres. It is 30% contained. It has burned 2 homes, injured 15 people. The blaze started Friday when a hawk hit a power line, and that's what sparked this fire. Firefighters hope to surround the fire completely by Friday. And fire season has not hit its peak yet, believe it or not. The cost of fighting California's wildfires during just this past few weeks has climbed. The price tag now more than $60 million. But firefighting officials have a multi-million-dollar rainy day fund set for payments of this nature. In fact, they've already tapped into it. The California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection has a budget of about $519 million for the 2009-2010 fiscal year. This year's fire season is pretty much mild in comparison to years past, with fewer fires and more in more remote areas. So they're actually doing better this year than they were last year. All right, 5:12 is the time. We'll take another break here. We'll be back though with more in just a couple of minutes. I understand we have some live pictures to bring to you out of West Palm Beach this morning, where on the lower portion of your screen, if you can see it there, a whale has beached itself on, well, it's right here near Juno Beach Pier, and you can see a lot of beachgoers surrounding it now, trying to figure out what to do. Maybe they'll give it a push back out into the water. We're not sure yet. We'll keep an eye on it, though, and bring you more live pictures here in just a minute. Stay with us.